So this is my project on expanding the parking area behind my barn. So how this came about, so I've had this 6x10 dump trailer with this F-150 for about 5 years. A dump trailer is an incredibly useful tool. This was my first dump trailer. I used it during multiple home renovations. It's incredibly useful for filling up with trash and debris. I've taken it out to Botetourt where a horse farmer gave me free manure. I've taken it to the quarry where I get rock loaded directly into it. It's really just an incredibly useful tool. So about a year ago, I got a skid steer, and again, very useful tool for spreading gravel, moving material. But part of the problem is I have nothing to haul my skid steer with. This specific dump trailer is a deck over, which means the deck is over the wheels, and so you can't load equipment onto it. And that 6x10 10K trailer just really isn't rated to carry that skid steer. So I needed to upgrade. I decided to get a larger truck. I got a 250 and a larger dump trailer. I ended up getting the 4-foot sides on this one because I do haul a lot of debris, and the trailer is rated to pull my skid steer. But with bigger stuff comes the need for bigger parking areas. So the parking area that I had by the barn just wasn't big enough, so I needed to expand it. All right, so the goal here is to expand the parking area here out towards the hillside. So I'm gonna move this riprap. I've gotta be careful of this buried underground power line here. But I basically wanna cut into this hillside enough here that I can get another parking space. So that's the goal. So I'm gonna move this riprap, move some of this gravel pile here, and cut into that hillside, and probably put the spoils right over there to expand this whole parking area. All right, so I'm starting to clear the riprap off the hillside and just put it in a pile over there. I got the wood, that 6x6 timber moved up there. So we'll just keep working, and then eventually we'll get to the point where we're gonna work around this power line. Since I move a lot of riprap around here, I did get this rock bucket, this 72-inch rock bucket, which is super helpful because it lets all of the small stuff fall through. So this is the good rock, and anything that's smaller or even dirt just falls through back where I'm pulling it off the hillside. So I switched to the 72-inch tooth bucket to cut into the undisturbed soil. Here's me, a little selfie. So I got this skid steer last year, and it's been unbelievably useful for doing these earth moving projects. You know, before I was trying to do stuff like this with my excavator and tractor, and this project would have taken me, forever with an excavator and a tractor. And with the skid steer, I actually got everything you see in the video here done in about a day and a half. So I've started cutting away at the hillside here and putting the spoils over here to expand the size of this parking space. So my plan is to bring the base of the driveway out to the edge of the building. So if I stand here, I want to get the base of the driveway out a little bit further, so I still have some more work to do. So I used the excavator to cut the vertical face. The excavator is much better at downward cutting, so I came down on it to cut exactly where I wanted to vertically, and I can also be much more precise. And then once it did that, I can get the material up and out. I still have to address the area where the electrical line is. So we got the final cut done with the excavator. Got the mason string. I put some bread on the ground so I can see it a little bit better. But that's the final cut, so we'll get these spoils out, and that ought to do it. So I have to take a little break, but I'm back. So you can see I've got the hillside cut out here, and then this is where they say the power line is. So when we buried that, it was 30 to 36 inches was 36 inches deep pretty much everywhere. So I think I'm gonna be all right taking off this little bit of hillside here. I didn't get any pictures while I was doing it, but basically how I took off the material over the conduit is I took the smooth bucket and then went straight in, taking off at about an inch at a time until I got to where I wanted to go, and then measured down from grade. I only took off about 18 inches from grade, and at this particular section where we buried the conduit was well below 40 inches below grade. I've got the videos back from when we did it, so I think I'm still 20 to 30 inches above the conduit. All right, so I'm back the next morning. It got a little dark last night, so I didn't get any pictures. But here's what we've done. We've cut out this whole section here, down to there, put all the spoils off to this side. So you can see we expanded where you can come in about 10 feet going this way. And then this actually expanded about 15 feet coming this way. So this morning, I got a little cleanup to do, here in the corners. I got to tidy up the wall a little bit, improve the slope so I can put the riprap up. But that's it. So this is after about 2 half days of working. You can see I was able to both widen and lengthen the parking area, which is off to the right over here. That's about 10 to 15 tons of riprap that I put down over there. I put all the spoils over here off to the left and widened the driveway in. Still a lot of mix of dirt and gravel over the edge here. I put the topsoil off to the side and then put the topsoil right off the back there so that it'll eventually be able to grow something that's not all red. Compacted that down by driving back over it with the excavator. I put this up at the end of my first day. This was all the riprap I had left. As it turned out, that hillside ended up being too steep, and I had to recut it the next day. There's the dump trailer that's eventually going to go there. So let me just cut to the next day and show you what we did. So I had to go to work to my real job, but while I was gone, Chris went and delivered some material for me. All right, so I'm out here. Decided to revise this hillside here. I started stacking and realized that it was just too steep. It was just too steep. So I'm gonna lay this back a little bit here. I'm gonna take out a little bit more. So to do that, I'm gonna pull out this riprap here. I've got the rock bucket. I'm just gonna pull this out, put it back in the pile, and then recut out this hillside. So I had about 60 tons of rock delivered yesterday. I've got 30 of riprap and then 30 tons of crusher run. That should be enough to finish the project. So start out this morning, I'm just gonna pull this riprap off here real quick. It's been about 10 minutes. I've already knocked most of it down. I'll put it in the pile and then I'll just pull this hillside back a little further. So this is recutting in the hillside. You can see the difference here in the old versus the new angle. Fortunately, most of this that I pulled off here was actually topsoil. So I was able just to put it right back over the bank, and that'll grow real nice come spring. But you see the difference here between the old and the new angle. That allows the rock to hold the hillside much better. I made sure when I knew I was going to do this, so when I had Chris drop the piles off, I made sure there was enough room for me to get around. So that's the new slope, and it didn't take very long to cut it in, and I was able to start putting rock within about an hour. Here is loading with the rock bucket. Incredibly useful implement. All right, so I've put all the riprap out. Here it is. You can see my parking space is lined up with the edge. I put the extra riprap up here, and I'm down to my pile of crushed run. I'm gonna go ahead and start spreading that around, and we'll see what we got. All right, so I've finished spreading all the gravel, finished putting the riprap up. I had some extra here, so I put it over on this hillside here. So I expect this to settle a bit down here. I'll probably plant some vinca down there that'll kind of take over the hillside, but won't end up climbing the trees. And so here we are. Here's the expanded parking area. Cut into the hillside. I put down the crushed run here. Spread all the crushed run around. I'll show what the line looks like. So from the side of the barn, if I go stand right there, it goes right along. I was able to put all of this up with the machine. I ended up, cutting back this hillside more, as I showed in some previous segments. I now have this sort of space up here where I can use to store implements. That's the extra riprap. I'll probably just clear this area here, put a little extra riprap down here, and level this off just to keep, the rake and the other outdoor implements. But here's the finished product. Come back this way, we can see. And now I've got plenty of space here. Put the trailers, plenty of space to turn around now that I've got the bigger truck. I kind of widened this entrance here. That's the old road. You can see where it ends there at the riprap. So I widened it coming up here. So this will actually be helpful for turning around. There's now plenty of turnaround space. So that's it. That's the final project. It ended up taking me about 3 half days to do everything, but pretty happy with it, and certainly meets my needs. Thanks for watching.